You know, when a former top executive from PlayStation starts talking about where gaming is headed, you tend to listen. And Sean Layden, he has a warning that could seriously reshape the entire industry. So what's he so concerned about, and what could it mean for the future of the games we all play? Let's dive in.
So the whole thing kicks off with this massive, almost kind of controversial question. Have we reached the peak? Is that relentless march for better graphics and more powerful consoles finally, grinding to a halt? And there it is, right from the source. Layden is not mincing words here. He genuinely believes the industry has kind of hit a ceiling tech-wise. And remember, this is coming from a guy who was right at the top of Sony's PlayStation division. This isn't just some random opinion. So what's he really mean by a plateau? It's not that the technology isn't getting better. It is, but the improvements are becoming so small, so incremental, that it's getting harder and harder for us, the players, to actually notice a real difference. This is the exact question Layden himself asks to drive the point home. We've hit a point of diminishing returns. The huge, jaw-dropping leaps that used to define new consoles are now so subtle that most of us wouldn't even notice them in the heat of gameplay. So you have to ask, are we spending billions on upgrades we can't even see?
To really, truly get what he means by a plateau, we've got to take a quick look back, because the jumps between console generations, they used to be absolutely game-changing.
I mean, just think about the difference. The jump from 2D sprites to full 3D worlds, that was a revolution. The move to HD graphics and having real, robust online multiplayer with the Xbox 360, another revolution. But today, the move from PS4 to PS5 is, well, it's more of an incremental upgrade. Even a developer working on Death Stranding 2 said the jump isn't some great leap, it's just more efficient.
Okay, so if chasing more and more power is a dead end, what's the alternative? Where do we go from here? Well, Layden has a surprisingly simple and direct vision for where hardware makers should be focusing all that energy. That's it. That's the whole pitch. Instead of another insanely expensive arms race for specs that the human eye can barely even appreciate, Layden argues the entire focus should shift. The next big innovation shouldn't be about more power. It should be about more access for more people. His plan really boils down to two key steps. First, make consoles more affordable so you can grow the entire audience of players. And second, and this is a big one, open the doors for more hardware companies to get in the game and compete. He imagines a world that isn't just a 2- or 3-horse race, but a way more diverse and competitive hardware scene.
But this isn't just about the hardware, though. This technological ceiling is having these massive ripple effects that are shaking up the entire industry, from the kinds of games that get made to how we actually pay for them. $200 million. I mean, just think about that number. When a single AAA game can cost that much to make, and often more, publishers get incredibly risk-averse. They just can't afford a flop. And the result? They approve fewer and fewer games, and the ones they do make often stick to really safe, proven formulas.
And that's exactly why Layden is so excited about the return of AA gaming. You know, those mid-budget titles like Claire Obscure Expedition 33. That can take more creative risks, partly because developers are just tired of making the same thing over and over. And, pretty interestingly, he actually defends higher game prices. He argues that for the dozens or even hundreds of hours of fun you get from a game like Mario Kart, the price is, in his words, amazingly affordable.
He also has some really strong opinions on the subscription models. He sees a huge difference between the two big ones. He calls the Xbox Game Pass model a potential danger because he believes putting brand new massive games on the service day one is, quote, not creating value. In contrast, he looks at Sony's PlayStation Plus model, which usually adds games after they've had their initial sales window, and he calls that a healthier approach for the whole ecosystem.
And speaking of Xbox, Layden shared this really telling and frankly kind of worrying thought. When he looks at Microsoft's recent moves, like bringing more of its big exclusive games to other platforms, he says he gets Dreamcast flashbacks. That's a direct reference to Sega's beloved but ultimately failed console that marked their exit from the hardware business. It's a pretty clear sign he's questioning Microsoft's long-term commitment to this console race.
So what does this all mean? What's the bottom line? Well, in short, it feels like the gaming world is at a major turning point. The old model of just pushing for more powerful graphics every few years seems to be running out of steam. The future might be a lot less about raw power and a whole lot more about affordability, accessibility, and creating a sustainable world where more creative, mid-budget AA games can actually thrive.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. What if the next great leap in gaming isn't about counting pixels or frames per second at all?
What if it's about breaking down barriers and making these incredible, immersive worlds accessible to absolutely everyone? That's the future Sean Layden is pointing to, and if he's right, it could change everything.